Hi everyone, my name is Sara and welcome to the Knitting Type podcast. Today is Sunday, November 13th, and this is podcast episode number 14. I am the host of this here podcast where I talk about knitting and crochet and sewing and crafty things that I do. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and joining me today. And if you are a new viewer, hello. Thanks for checking me out. Hope you enjoy what you see. We have some good content today. We have some giveaway prize announcements. I have a swap to talk about and knit along to talk about. I have one F.O. and I have two whips, and then I have another giveaway to talk about and announce. And then I have some mail that came in. So if you are a returning viewer, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that I am using a new camera this week. So I hope this one works out better. It should have better focus on the yarn, as well as avoid making that bzz, bzz sound that my old camera used to make, which is the sound it would make when it was focusing and I could always hear it. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. So where to find me? I can be found on most forms of social media as the Knitting Type. Well, most forms of social Knitdia. That is what it should be called. Oh my gosh. Okay. If you're a knitter and you're on social media, it is officially now called Knitedia. I made that up. You can use it. You're welcome. Just had a moment. Knit genius. So I can be found on Knitedia, on Ravelry, as the Knitting Type, where I have just my profile, but I also have a Ravelry group for this podcast called the Knitting Type Podcast. That's it, the Knitting Type Podcast. I'm also on Instagram as the Knitting Type. You can send me an email to theknittingtype@gmail.com. I have a blog. I have an Etsy store, all under the Knitting Type. If you just Google the Knitting Type, it will probably all come up. So yeah, that's where I can be found. So to dive right in, I'm going to go ahead and announce the winners of last week's prize, or the winner, rather, just one winner of this prize pack. So we had from the Gnome Knitter, we had this pizza charm. Let's see if that will focus. I'm still playing with the settings of the camera, so it's kind of like a little dark, and then it gets lighter, and I don't know. My husband and I will get it figured out. It might just be uncomfortable for a while. And then we have this project bag made by me, and it is sewn using exclusive Gilmore Girl fabric in the I Love You 1,000 Yellow Daisies fabric. And then I made this progress keeper, which is a dragonfly, and I included this button that says Dosie's Market, so you'll get that as well as the Gnome Knitter pizza progress keeper. And then lastly, you'll get these 3 samples of the Yarn at Home Mom yarn, and this is Where You Lead I Will Follow. This is on the colorway I Love You, You Idiot, and then this is on the colorway Special All Me Alone Place. And all of these are on the Yarn at Home Mom's sparkle base. And so I had the way to qualify for this prize drawing was to leave a comment on last week's episode on YouTube in answer to the question, what is your favorite Gilmore Girls episode? And I got a lot of great comments, and I agreed with I think everyone, and I feel like they were pretty diverse. I don't know that any really repeated, and no one said my personal favorite episode, which I just watched this morning, so I will share that after I announce the prize. So I had 32 comments, and I just did random number generator, and I took a picture of the results so that I could show all of you, and the winner was number 8. So and that was the Knitted Elephant. So I apologize. I was looking on the comments on my phone and I did not see or I could not see on YouTube the individual's name, but their YouTube profile is The Knitted Elephant. And so she said that her favorite episode was the dance marathon. And that was because a lot of the key characters, or all of the characters, are featured in that one episode alone. Plus, it's a lot of fun, and Lorelai's heel breaking and Luke helping her. And it's a really pivotal point, obviously, because Dean and Rory break up. So, by the way, if you're a new viewer to this podcast, I should let you know that I'm currently hosting a Gilmore Girls Knit Along. And so I'm featuring prizes every week. And so that's what this is for last week's prize. So congratulations to the Knitted Elephant. Just get in touch with me on either Ravelry, or you can send me an email, or you can get in touch with me on Instagram and private message me your address, and I will have this prize sent out to you as soon as possible, probably by Saturday. So in answer to the question, what is your favorite Gilmore Girls episode? I will say that my favorite episode is episode 9 of season 3, which I know because I just watched it this morning. And that is titled Deep Fried Korean Thanksgiving. And that is the episode in which Rory and Lorelai have to have 4 Thanksgivings, one at the Kim's, one at Suki's, where they're deep frying a turkey, one with the grandparents, Richard and Emily, and then one at Luke's with Luke and Jess. And it's just, I don't know, I just like the holidays, and I like that they try to make it work and go see everyone. And I was kind of raised in an environment where I was always traveling to multiple locations to celebrate Thanksgiving with multiple family members and making sure that everyone felt included. And so I can just really relate to that episode and feeling kind of exhausted, but at the end of the day, kind of finishing it with being thankful that you got to see everyone that you spent the holiday with. So that was my favorite one. The next bit of housekeeping that I have to talk about is the bag swap that I am hosting with Shannon of Socksetra podcast. And she and I are hosting what's called a bag swap. And so this is an opportunity for anyone who currently sews or would like to learn to sew, who is currently a bag maker or would like to try their hand at making a bag, to sign up and participate in a swap where we will pair you up with another person, not necessarily of the same skill level. This is just a random connection. So be prepared that if you are an experienced sewer, you might get a brand new sewer or bag from a brand new sewist. And once you are paired up with your bag swap partner, it will be up to you two to get in touch with one another and decide what you'd like to fill that bag with, if you want to fill the bag with anything. So some ideas that people have done in the past have obviously been chocolate or candies, little samples of yarn of fabric, like fat quarters or charm packs or mini charm packs, and any type of notions that you want to throw in there, or mini skeins of yarn. But Shannon and I just thought that this was a nice opportunity for the knitting community and crocheting community to just swap another skill set with one another and practice the art of bag making. So if you are interested in signing up for this swap, signups are going to be open through the evening of the 15th, November 15th. You can sign up under my Ravelry group at the TheKnittingType podcast, or Shannon's Ravelry group under, I believe her Ravelry group is called Socksetra, but it might be Socksetra podcast, so try both of those. And we both have discussion threads currently open that says bag swap signups. So you can sign up there. Signups will close probably as soon as I wake up on the 16th. And then I will assign partners on the 20th, and you will know who you are matched with because you will be magic linked in Ravelry. And then on the 20th, you'll be magic linked. And then we ask that you get in touch with your partner and have your bags shipped out to one another by December 20th. So kind of like 5 days before Christmas. You can certainly swap sooner than that, but that just kind of gives you a month to make the bag and get everything together and get in touch with one another. So that's it. That's the bag swap. I hope you sign up if you're interested. And if you have any questions, please, again, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Today I'm drinking from my Hufflepuff mug, and I brought it with me, White Christmas Tea by Stash. So, can you see that? It's really nice. It's white tea, peppermint, and ginger root, and that's it. And I'm totally in the holiday season. This week has kind of beat me up emotionally, and while it might feel too soon for some other people, I felt the need to fully embrace the holidays and focus on, just happiness. So let's get to some knitting. I have a faux! Yay! And so if you don't know what a faux is, it is a finished object, which means I have completely finished knitting something. Finally! The last finished object that I knitted is featured behind me in this dark corner on my mannequin Bernadette, and she is wearing the hitchhiker shawl that I finished knitting probably about a month or so ago. But this week, I have these. These are my Sous Son Aile socks. And these were knit for the Harry Potter Knit Along, hosted by Lydia Brown of the Loops Yarn Company and the Fiber by Design podcast. And she is hosting a Harry Potter Knit Along from now through the end of the year. So if you're interested in that, you can go and check out her podcast group and look at the Fiber by Design podcasts. So, as you can tell, these are shorty socks, and what you might not be able to tell is that they are a little bit different. So, I will show you. You can see that on this one over here, that the top just above the heel cuff was knit in stockinette. So just a continuous stockinette around the back with the pattern in the front. Whereas this one, I continued with the pattern along the back of the ankle and the front. And what it did was, let's see if I can point this out, is that it created like this extra bar or rib right here, which I didn't even notice until I blocked them that had happened. And so obviously it's not on this one. But you know, I really kind of just embraced that I had knit them differently once I got to this point and realized I had not continued the pattern on the back of my first sock. And I just embraced it. And I thought that what a great opportunity to figure out if I like that or if I would prefer to not continue a design on the back of the sock for the leg portion. So I just embraced that I had done it differently. One other thing I did differently was over on this sock, and I don't even think you can tell a difference. So I would love to hear from people if they can tell a difference over here without giving too much of the pattern away. On the edge of what is the wing design, you are supposed to end in a slip, slip, knit. Now the instructions in the pattern said slip, slip, knit, purlwise, and knit through the back. Or yeah, knit through the back like you would do a normal slip, slip, knit. But I wasn't totally convinced that I liked the way that was turning out. So then on the second one, I did a slip, slip, knit, a knitwise, and then knit through the back. I believe I also did it on my toe decrease, and I can't really see a difference. So I guess one of my questions to you all, more experienced knitters or, maybe less experienced but know more than I do or have an opinion about it, what do you feel is the major difference between a slip, slip knit where you slip the stitches purlwise versus slip, slip knit where you slip the stitches knitwise? I thought I would be able to see a difference in how the stitches lay. And as I'm looking at it, I really can't see any difference. They look exactly the same. They look the same to me. So anyway, this is my faux. I'm going to make them dance. Do 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 do. Moonwalk. I love them. They fit really well. They go on very easily. And they are knit out of Lydia Brown's Loyal Companion Colorway in her Perfection Knot yarn base. And then Dream Yarn's Everlasting Sock base in the Brownie Colorway. And what else? Oh, I knit them on size 1 needles, which is 2.25 millimeter Chia Gu needles. And they took a little bit over a month probably for me to finish knitting. So yay! Okay, I'm done. Okay, so that is my one F.O. finished object. Yay. Okay, and then now on to my whips. So these are definitely works in progress and not hosed because they are not half finished objects. And I will show you my first one, which I have in my sock nanny bag from Freckled Whimsy in the Strawberry Shortcake color. I think she repeats this particular bag in her shop, meaning she opens up, what are those called when you can like pre-order? She opens up pre-orders for these. I've seen it at least 2 or 3 times now. I think just because, especially if you're a child from the 80s, this is just very nostalgic. I had like 2 Strawberry Shortcake sleeping bags growing up. Oddly enough, you might think, who needs 2 sleeping bags? I did. I needed 2. And I had 2 of the same exact one. So this is my whip that is almost done. So this is my Because I Love You wrap by Amy Meeks of the Periscoping Sisters. And she has a Periscope with her, she has a Periscope and now a podcast with her sister Debbie Reese. So this is the beginning. So you kind of do this varying 2 different color bases, and then it's just a bunch of increases and decreases as the colors merge together across this bridge, which is so beautiful, and I think just really catches the eye, this section right here, which is just, it's narrow. Maybe I would make it bigger if I made this again in the future. And anyway, then you switch colors and the other color becomes the dominant color in the shawl. So this is it right now. Not blocked. So I think it's pretty obvious that when I do block it, it's going to grow a lot. And my original goal was to have this done for this podcast, this particular episode, because I honestly have about, 4 times 4, 16 rows left to do. Sorry, I dropped my yarn. 16 rows left to do, and this is all the yarn I have left. It's so scary. I don't know if I'm going to make it, in which case the end of my shawl might just not have that extra finishing row that I need it to have. But whatever, it is what it is, and my knitting isn't perfect because it's mine, and that makes it unique. So yeah, this is my yarn bracelet and how much I have left to finish my shawl. Now I will say, and not go into too much detail, that, I mentioned earlier this was a really tough week because if you live in the United States, it was election week, and no matter who you're voting for or rooting for to win, it's a tense time because only one person can win, and if you didn't vote for the person that win, it can be disappointing and it can be emotionally stressful. Especially right now because it feels as though the United States, rather than being united, is extremely divided. And I picked this up and I started knitting on it, and I loved knitting on it. I found it very comforting because it is called the Because I Love You wrap. And I thought, how beautiful is that? Like, if we could all just get along and say, because I love you. I will put everything aside. I will listen. I will be there. I will be supportive. I will unite with you because I love you. And so that's kind of what this has turned into representing for me. And I found it very soothing this past week. Anyway, moving on. No more politics. Now my new goal for this shawl / wrap is Thanksgiving. So I have approximately 2 weeks to get this done so that I can wear it on Thanksgiving. And I think I can easily bust out 16 rows and tie in my loose ends and get it blocked in time for Thanksgiving. So hopefully next week I will be showing this to you as a finished object. All right, I have one more F.O. and then I have some You've Got Mail, some things that came in the mail this week. Or not this week, just came in the mail in general, and so I'm going to show them. Okay, so this is my second F.O., or not F.O., whip. And it is my Gilmore Girls socks. So you might notice that I changed the pattern. Now I had originally been knitting the Where You Lead I Will Follow pattern by C.C. Allman. And I love the pattern and I love the way it looks. But I decided I didn't like the way it looked with this particular yarn. The pattern that she shows is knit up on a striped yarn that is also Gilmore Girls inspired and was dyed. My understanding is the yarn and the pattern were created kind of together so that every time a pattern section changed, the striping also changed in the yarn. So it was very specific and it kind of flowed nicely together. But because this is more of like I don't know, I think you would call it a variegated or speckled yarn, the pattern just wasn't really coming through that well. And so I decided to rip it out. So again, not talking politics, but in an election night fury where I was watching CNN coverage to find out who was going to win, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I can't see the pattern I'm trying to knit. The pattern feels very complicated to me. My brain was already full of complicated data as it was with the election going on. And so I thought, I'm just going to rip it out and I'm just going to knit something simple. And so I elected to knit this pattern instead, which is called I Smell Snow, which is a quote from Lorelai Gilmore in an episode where she says, everything is magical when it snows. Everything looks pretty. The clothes are great. Coats, scarves, gloves, hats. And so I agree with that. I love it when it snows. That's why I live in Colorado. And we have not had one snow yet, which is not typical of us. We typically get snow in October, at least before Halloween. And it has been in the solid 60s to 70s range all week. And so that's a little disappointing. I don't know. I like to get my wood fire stove burning and just ready. I'm ready for winter. So this is kind of a better view of the pattern, I think. Essentially what she's done here is she has created a lace pattern to look like snowflakes going down the outside edge of your foot. And the designer's name is, and I apologize for mispronouncing this because I definitely will, I think it's Sani Kwuvamaki. And here's her name if you are interested. Oh, I think this new camera does focus better. I also see that it's making me look very dark and tan and then lightening up a bit, but oh well. I'm never gonna have a perfect camera setup. Anyway, these socks are also knit on 1.0. That's my favorite needle size, so 2.25. I am using the Loopy Used navy blue yarn, and then the Yarn at Home Mom's Dragonfly in colorway on her Hardy sock base. And you can't quite see my snowflake pattern yet. You kind of can. But I will say that on election night I probably watched way too much, but several hours, I got this much done. Now, what was interesting is that obviously I was distracted and I had ripped out the original pattern, and then I frogged all the way down to the blue with one row of the Yarn at Home Mom's Dragonfly in colorway, having just come right in. And then I picked up all those stitches and put them back on the needle. And then I don't think I paid attention to how many stitches were on each needle. And so I had originally cast on 64, but somehow I think at some point I got like 66, or I'm sorry, I got like 36 on one needle and 28 on another. So that as I was working the pattern, it obviously started to appear to me that it wasn't center. And then I decided that the sock looked too big. And I tend to have a wider calf that is kind of shallow into my ankle, and then a really skinny ankle and a very narrow foot. So I thought I want to decrease the 64 stitch cast on down to 64 down to 56. And so I did a row where I decreased 4 stitches, 2 on each side, and then knit a row, and then on the next row I did another 4 stitches decrease. Now because I had different number of stitches on each needle, then my decreases weren't even either. But I'm not really worried about that. I'm just going to keep going. You can kind of see on the back here maybe where I did my decreases. They're like up in this area somewhere. Whoop. This finger is not as flexible. So yeah, they're right here. I don't know. I'm just going with it. I'm going to see how it turns out and maybe correct it on the next one, because apparently my goal is not to have any 2 socks look exactly the same. So fine by me. Okay. So that is, I'm housing this project in my Fat Squirrel Amy Beth project bag. Love her bags. She just has really great quality if you ever get the chance to order some of her bags. All right. Time for You've Got Mail. So I have something that showed up this week that was very exciting, and that is Progress Keepers from the Gnome Knitter. Now, I have already shown some of her Progress Keepers because I purchased them for giveaways for the Gilmore Girls Knit Along. And after receiving them, I thought, well, they're just too stinking cute, and I'm going to have to order them myself. So I did. I got these 2, and then Joanna was really sweet, and she threw in this little jingle bell, this mauve jingle bell, which you can kind of see right there. It jingles. So I got the coffee cup, if you can see that that's a coffee cup. And then I got the Pop-Tart too, because it's so stinking cute. And Joanna and I had worked together to create the idea of the Pop-Tart for Gilmore Girls, because they reference Pop-Tarts a lot. I mean, even in season 7, they are talking about the Pop-Tarts. So they really kind of carry that all the way through the whole series. So I got those this week, which was very exciting. And here is Joanna's information if you would like to go and purchase any of the super cute stitch markers she makes. She works with polymer clay, and we currently have a discount code going on for her, and that discount code is, I wrote it on last week's show notes. Let's see. Her discount code for this podcast is KnittingType, all in caps, 15. I believe it's KnittingType 15, and that is for 15% off your purchase of $10 or more. And each Progress Keeper or charm that she sells is about $8 to $10, so it would be very easy to spend $10 in her shop. So head on over there and check them out. She makes just some really, she's got some Christmas themed, I think, macaroons and like cakes. She's got a pumpkin pie I've seen, and I think eggs Benedict, lots of breakfast foods and teas. So she's really talented. So check that out. And then the other thing I got in the mail did not come this week, but I have been distracted with other projects and things going on, so I haven't really had a chance to look at it, and I just looked at it, and I'm going to tell you right now there's crinkling, and sorry, not sorry, because I'm not taking it out of the package. So this is, this is yarn from the Yarn at Home Mom, and she has had several mini skein sets inspired by the Gilmore Girls. She had approximately 3 that contained 10 mini skeins each. and I bought all 3 for this podcast knit along so that I could sort through them and provide mini skeins in the giveaways that I'm hosting. And then she recently just released a 4th mini skein Gilmore Girls inspired set, but this is for the revival. So they are all based on all the colorways are based on the previous seasons, but I'll just show you. So they're all on her shimmer sock base again, and this is the packet that you get, and you can see that it says binge watching like a Gilmore. And so I will show you the back here. Oh yeah, there you can see the colors. So this yellow and brown one is called Eating Cake. Oh, no, sorry. It's called If Eating Cake is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. This is called A Year in the Life. So this one is clearly, this blue, teal, brown, and white one is clearly based off of the revival that's coming out. F.O.s is this purple pink one in the center. This reddish one is called Luke, Will You Marry Me? And then I love this. This is like a purple, lilac, cream, and brown, and it's called Please Pass the Johnny Machete, or Pass the Johnny Machete, Please. So I know that Luke, Will You Marry Me and this A Year in the Life are definitely skeins that she sells in her shop, Yarn at Home Mom, the Yarn at Home Mom. And I believe she sells them on various bases, but I don't believe that she sells the cake. Actually, I think she does have F.O.s in her shop, but then Pass the Johnny Machete, Please, I don't think is in her shop either. So these are all featured, all of these 5 here are on her shimmer sock yarn, which is a 75% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina, and each one of these is 87 yards each. So this is her information. You can see right down here her Etsy store, I believe. I don't know where to hold this camera, so much lighting, or this product. So it just says theyarnathomemom.com, which is really great because I know sometimes you can search for things on Etsy and they don't come up the way you think that they should. Like Etsy can't find them. So those were the 2 You've Got mails that I received in the last week or 2, which was very exciting. And I have no idea what I'm going to make with that yarn, of course. But I just thought maybe I would incorporate a base color, like a cream or something, and do like a chevron cowl. I know Lydia Brown just released a chevron cowl pattern for her Harry Potter minis, and I might use it for these and make a Gilmore Girls cowl in chevron. I feel like they would really like that. So that is all for the knitting content. If you have joined us if you've joined just me and Bernadette back there, just for the knitting content, that is all I have for you today. And the rest of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about the Gilmore Girls knit along. So thank you for coming. If you don't care to watch the rest, and if you do, come along with me. So part of the Gilmore Girls knit along is that I said every podcast I would tell a unique story that pertains to some Gilmore Girls experience that I've personally had that is kind of unique. And so I'll start this section off with this week's story. And that is that I saw Doyle in the flesh. I was living in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was commuting through downtown on what is called Pratt Street. And that is right by the Inner Harbor of Baltimore. And so in this area of Baltimore, you have the convention center and other various big businesses. But the convention center is I'm assuming, probably why he was down there. I don't know for what reason. But this was about 5 or 6 years ago. And I had to commute through downtown Baltimore City every day to get to my job. I had to drive just a little bit out of the city into the county to get to work and then drive back through the city to get home, where I lived in the city. And this particular time in the city was really interesting because we were hosting, I think it was called the Grand Prix, where basically they were taking downtown Baltimore and they were converting it into a race track in the city. And so there was all this scaffolding up, and I myself felt like I was driving through a race course every evening for several months while they erected it and then they tore it down. And on this particular day, just commuting home like any other day in my little Nissan Sentra, I got stuck at a red light and I was like, darn it. Like, I just want to get home and done with today. And I look up and there is Doyle. Could not tell you the actor's name. Don't know anything else that he's been in, but he is on the left-hand side of the road as I am facing him. And I see him and he's wearing like charcoal gray slacks and a black shirt, and he's wearing a messenger bag across his body that is also like a black nylon, and just looking like Doyle. Like, he's a very petite man in person, just as he is portrayed in the TV show. And he was just crossing at the red light to go to the convention center. And I thought, oh my God. And I like looked to my passenger seat and nobody's there, right? There's nobody there to witness that happening. Like, it's just me in this moment looking at Doyle going, there you go, there you go, there you go. That's Doyle. Okay. All right. Oh, it's green. And then I just had to drive. And I think I got home and I told my husband, like, I saw Doyle. And he was like, huh? And I was like, Gilmore Girls, you don't know. It doesn't matter. I have to call my mom. And, so yes, and then I called my mom and I told her, and it was very exciting. So that's my unique story for this week, is that I saw Doyle from the Gilmore Girls. So let's talk about the Gilmore Girls Knit Along. So if you have not joined us yet, you are welcome. You are welcome at any time to join this Knit Along. It does run from November 1st through November 30th with the idea of knitting something that is Gilmore Girls inspired. And that can be anything. That can be something that you saw in the show that reminds you of Gilmore Girls that you want to replicate, or any yarn that is Gilmore Girls inspired. Or if you find yarn and you think this reminds me of one of the characters or a scene or an episode or a quote, then you can use that yarn. And then any object. If you didn't see it in the show, but you think, you know what, they wear a lot of fingerless mitts or a lot of hats, and this hat in this colorway reminds me of this scene or whatever, that's great. Just use it or knit it, and I will accept it. And so you can join at any time. WIPs are welcome, because the intention of this knit along is really just for any Gilmore Girls fan to participate, and for all of us to join together and knit something in relation to the show that makes us happy, while we all kind of rewatch the past seasons and prepare for the revival to be released on the 25th. So in the KnittingType podcast Ravelry group, I do have a discussion thread open for all those who are participating, just a general chatter thread, and that is called Chatter Like a Gilmore Girl. And so if you haven't done so already, please come and introduce yourself, tell us what you're working on, show us, provide a picture of the yarn or the pattern or all of it together, and just join in the Gilmore Girls chatter. I also have a thread for all coupon codes for the show. We have 3 currently. That's one from the Gnome Knitter that I talked about a minute ago. We have one from Shannon of the Yarn at Home Mom, and that is GGFans10, which is for 10% off your purchase of any of the yarn at her shop, of which she has a ton of Gilmore Girls yarn. The Nomadic Knitter, which I already mentioned, but I actually got that wrong. So that is KnittingType in all caps, is for the 15% off. And then we have a lovely coupon code from Shauna of Adelaide Cottage, and that is GGLove for 10% off anything from her shop. And she is currently making Gilmore Girls bags and has some Gilmore Girls inspired yarns, as well as some charms, I think, some progress keepers and stitch markers. So check out Adelaide Cottage as well. So I have a thread within my Ravelry group for just those codes. So I apologize if I misstated any of them or went too quickly, but you can just go to the Ravelry group and find them there as well. I will also have them in the show notes below this podcast episode. So if you just go to the show more section and you'll see the notes in YouTube regarding that. I also have a thread for pattern inspirations. So anything that you're knitting on or yarns or anything like that, feel free to link in that thread. So I just figured it was a good resource for anyone looking for Gilmore Girls patterns or yarn. And then I think I have another one that is a no chatter thread where I list all of the indie designers that I'm currently featuring on my podcast. So just, you'll find links to Shannon Shop and Joanna of the Nomadic Knitter, as well as, some sticker designers. I'm giving away some Gilmore Girls stickers for the podcast. They're listed in there. And I will eventually put up the fabric resource that I've been using for my project bags. She'll be up in there. So yeah, feel free to go and check out the Ravelry group. All the information should be found there, and it's pretty easy to find what you're looking for. So in order to qualify for the final prize of this knit along, you will need to put, I'm trying to decide if it was a finished object or a work in progress. And I think it's just come November 30th, whatever you've got on the needles or off the needles that was intended for this knit along, I'd like to see a picture of it. So I will have another thread that is no chatter that is just for our Gilmore Girls knits. And anyone who posts a picture, whether it is a whip that they didn't get done in 1 month, which I am guilty of, I almost never finish one project in 1 month. Or any finished object can be posted in that thread. And come November 30th, well, actually, I guess December 1st, I will pick a winner for that and announce that winner on, I'm trying to think of when the 30th is. I have a calendar on my phone. Okay, hold please. So let's see. November 30th is a Wednesday. So it's the Wednesday following the revival. December 1st is a Thursday, so I will close the thread the morning of December 1st, and then I will podcast December 4th, and I will then I will announce who the winner of the grand prize to this knit along is. Now, the grand prize is going to be a project bag made by me. It's going to be a pattern by CC Almond. It's going to be a progress keeper it's going to actually be the coffee cup progress maker from Joanna. And then as a special surprise, and I have not even seen this yet, I will also have a skein or two of Gilmore Girls inspired yarn from Legacy Knits. So Sue and Chelsea are each in the works of creating and dyeing up a Gilmore Girls colorway or colorways that are based off of the show. And I'm not going to announce necessarily what they're based off of just yet. I don't know, I might have already done that in a past episode, but that it could change. I just know that they're fantastic and they're creative and they make beautiful yarn, and they are a mother-daughter duo from Connecticut who does this. And I've been working with Sue for this grand prize, and I approached her and said, I know you guys are busy, but is there any way you would have any interest in dyeing a colorway exclusive for this knit along? And Sue and Chelsea loved it, and they loved the whole mother-daughter and Connecticut connection that it came with. And so they agreed to fit it into their busy dyeing schedules and knit this yarn up just for this giveaway. So I'm very excited about that. And as soon as it comes in the mail, I will show it to you and put the whole grand prize package together. There will also be some other cute things I'll probably start showing next week, what that will all entail, but it is definitely a grand prize. So any whips, anything you have done by November 30th, please feel free to post it in that thread. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do is show this week's giveaway. So I had stated that as part of this knit along, I love prizes and I love giveaways, and I've always been very lucky. I've won a lot of prizes in my life, whether it's raffle numbers or knit alongs or anything like that. I'm lucky. I win things, and so I want to give that back. And so I decided to include a lot of giveaways in as part of my very first knit along. So I am doing podcast giveaways where I will ask you to leave a comment in this episode to win this week's prize. And then I'm also doing Instagram giveaways. So if you follow me on Instagram, I am TheKnittingType. Weekly, I will be posting a giveaway there as well. And lately, for the last two giveaways on Instagram, you had to be a follower of my Instagram so that you could see when the prizes were announced, and then also tag 3 friends that you thought might be interested in the giveaway as well. And I did actually have 2 giveaways in 1 week because I missed the first week, and I apologize if anybody found it annoying that they had to tag people again. I'm not going to do that going forward just because everybody that's interested has probably already been tagged. But I think it's kind of a little annoying when you have to bug people and tag them, and especially if you have to do it twice in 1 week. That's silly. So this week's Instagram is closed, and I will announce next week's Instagram prize Monday or Tuesday. So I will never show the prizes, though, that I'm giving away for each one on the other Knitedia, if you will, the Knit Media format. So all the podcast prizes will be shown on the podcast, and all the Instagram prizes will be shown on the Instagram. So that being said, this is this week's giveaway for the podcast. Do you see a theme happening here? Right? It's project bags and yarn. But who doesn't love that? And if you didn't win last time, maybe you'll win this time. So this is this week's prize. And so this, again, is exclusive Gilmore Girls fabric. And this is the Yarn at Home Mom exclusive Gilmore Girls mini skeins. And then we have an exclusive Gilmore Girls button. And so I will also put the button supplier up in that Ravelry podcast group that I talked about because I got these off Etsy. I think from a Etsy shop called the Owl Lady. Anyway. This is a project bag made using Gilmore Girls yarn that features town signs, which I think is a really clever fabric design. So I think almost every business is featured. We have Al's Pancake World, Kim's Antiques, Dragonfly Inn, Stars Hollow Books, Stars Hollow High School, no cell phones. The come to the grand opening of Taylor's Old Fashioned Soda Shop next to Taylor's Old Fashioned Soda Shop shop sign, Miss Patty's School of Dance, Founders Firelight Festival, Stars Hollow founded in 1799, Stars Hollow Video, which gets cut off. Luke's cups are up here in the corner as well as right up here, so you don't get the full Luke's cup. And then there's a sign down here at the bottom that's kind of cut off, and it's called the Cornucopia. It had to do with some sort of festival. You have Weston's Bakery. This is a sign for Stars Hollow Video, but that got cut off too. And then Wilson's Hardware, which is Luke's diner. That sign's a little bit cut off as well. And then the Stars Hollow History Museum. And, of course, the Old Muddy River Knit-a-thon, or knit-along? Knit-a-thon. It's featured up there. And so this project bag also comes with the Dragonfly Progress Keeper that's on the zipper. And then, and at the bottom it has a Kim's Antique button. So every bag has a denim bottom, and the inside is just white cotton fabric. And so you get that this week, as well as these 3 skeins of yarn, all on her sparkle base. And I believe the colorways are Michelle Gerard. So pretty. These are pinks, purples, golds, blues. More blues than purple. And then Babette Miss Patty, which is very much purples, and some green, some copper, some cream, and some pink. And then Super Cool Party People is blues and creams and browns, which I think was inspired by the dress that Lorelai wore for Lane Kim's wedding, where she gets completely drunk and embarrasses herself and says the line, "Super cool party people bid a super cool adieu." So that skein is called Super Cool Party People. So this is it. This is this week's giveaway, this project bag and these 3 skeins of yarn and this button with the Dragonfly Progress Keeper. So in order to win this week's prize, I would like you to get really creative. So I would like you to leave a comment answering this. Pick a character and tell me their yarn colorway. So if you could design a yarn colorway based on a character, or even a scene, if you want to pick a scene or an episode, like for example, the dance marathon, which is very retro and 1940s, then your colorway could be based off of that. But just tell me what colors you think should be in a skein of yarn to represent that character or that scene. And this, I'll take comments all the way up until I podcast again, which will be next Sunday. So even Sunday morning, you could try leaving a comment, and I do the drawings right before I record the podcast. So that's it. That's all I have today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to spending time with you next week. Bye. So before we get started, I'll address my really awesome t-shirt, which says yarn or groceries. And I think it's pretty obvious I would choose yarn. I mean, obviously you gotta eat, but like, you know, you buy the cheap food and the really nice yarn. Priorities.